Welcome to Edge of the Rabbit Hole, where tonight we're going to be talking about a number of things with the Motor City medium, Rebecca Smuk, past life regression, Ouija boards, being an empath, all kinds of stuff coming up next. Welcome to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. Great to have everybody here with us tonight. I'm author and ghost historian Mike Ricksecker. With me, as always, is Vanessa Hogel, my co-host, and of course, down in the chat room is our chat shenanigator, Shauna, doing all things, well, all those shenanigans down there. So we have a fantastic guest with us tonight, the Motor City medium, Rebecca Smuk. She's going to be with us at the Haunted Road Media Paracon here June 1st. So we're kind of going to get a preview here of one of the things that she's going to be talking about, which is past life regression. So we're going to get into some other things too. So, but Rebecca, wanted to welcome you to the show. Really appreciate you coming on tonight.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, guys.
Yay!
Absolutely. So
we've already been chatting.
yeah. Vanessa and Rebecca, before we got on the show, we're already chatting about all things past lives. So, but for those who aren't really familiar with it, Rebecca, exactly what is past life regression, and how does that work?
Well, past life regression. Okay, the way that we explain past life regression is people recycle. We come to each life to learn a lesson or to relearn a lesson if we didn't learn it the first time. So let's say in a past life, you were a very prideful person. Your next life, you'll be put through something and they'll make you realize you shouldn't be that prideful. That'll put you in your place, that'll humble you. And until you learn the lessons that your soul needs to learn, you'll keep repeating until you get to a place where you don't need to do that anymore. And you know, some people's lives are as short as 6 months, but if that was the lesson they went through a difficult birth, they went through a crippling birth defect or cancer as a small child, and that was their choice, their mission that time. They wanted to learn something from that. We choose our past lives. We have free will even after we pass away, and we choose what lessons we need to learn. How
Right.
Past life regression works is, let's say, for instance, well, let's mention one of the cases I did recently. I had a gentleman that limped, okay, had an extreme limp in his left leg, had it his entire life. And he didn't have a physical reason for it. He'd had MRIs, he's had CAT scans, x-rays, no arthritis, no physical cause for this. So I did a past life regression with him, found out he was shot with a musket ball during the American-British War in the hip.
Oh, wow.
We did the past life regression. He talked about it, worked through it, called me up 2 days later and said, I don't limp anymore.
Oh, interesting. Wow. So
yeah.
the limp was just residual from a previous life. He didn't actually have a physical ailment that caused the limp?
No.
Oh.
No. Nothing that the doctors could find.
That's really interesting.
You bring up something interesting, and I want to put a spin on it and ask your opinion.
Sure.
Because you're obviously, and I'm not looking at the chat, but I am sure you would have people that would say, well, what could a baby at 6 months possibly have to learn, or a stillborn or something like that? Is it possible, and I'm not saying I'm right, I'm just theorying, is it possible that lives can be used or donated, so to speak, to teach the living a lesson?
Yes. Absolutely.
And so, that to me makes so much sense. That makes so much sense, is that maybe, something along those lines, as horrible and as traumatic as it is, that it might have nothing to do with that life, but with another life.
Right, with the life it's affecting.
And I think one of the things that it may be doing is teaching strength, because that's something very, very hard to get. Strength, faith, and belief in yourself. I was just curious. I had to throw that out to you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a valid point. Yes, sometimes people choose a short life for the benefit of another. Yes.
You put it so much better than I did. Thank you for that.
No problem.
I appreciate you.
I mean, when we choose our next life, we choose our parents, we choose our family, we choose our story. We don't remember it, but we choose it before we reincarnate. We choose our path. We choose who our parents are going to be. We choose what's going to happen to us. And, you know, and then we spend our whole life going, woe is me. Why me? Well, you picked this. You needed to go through this. I know it hurts, but there's a reason for it. And at the end, when you pass on and your soul goes back where it came from, wherever that person's beliefs are, you go, oh yeah, I remember why I did this.
Well, see, and you're absolutely right. And that is the one thing, and Mike and I have talked about it at great length on our show, and I've talked about it on other shows, is that I can't, it's not, I'm going to say I can't stomach that poor, pitiful me mentality. I can't do it. Right. I understand that people have that, but I can't do it. And it's hard for me to support it. And I have a very valid reason for believing that, abused as a child, raped as a teenager, homeless, 6 miscarriages, put in the hospital by a stranger. I wouldn't take back a second of it. Not a second.
The funny thing is, Vanessa, most people that are gifted in psychics had that same kind of childhood.
Yeah.
Most of the psychics or mediums I know had a horrible childhood.
Yeah.
Probably 90% of them did.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't take it back because that's how you grow and that's how you learn to help others.
Right. That's how I think it makes us more sensitive, more empathic. We have to learn how to survive at a young age, and we learn how to read body cues and facial expressions and micro expressions and emotions of people because it becomes survival. And I think that starts to grow our gifts as we go along. We're more open because of what we had to do as children, if that makes sense.
It does. And given what you said earlier about choosing the life, people would be like, well, why would you choose that? Well, my view is if it's not me, then it would happen to somebody else maybe, and I know I can take it.
Right.
Does that make sense? Is that accurate?
It does. That people, yes, that's possible. A lot of it is sometimes people feel they have a penance coming for something they did in a past life. I was a really horrible person last time. I deserve to suffer. And, that's their choice.
I was a thief. I know that in one of my lives. I was a thief with a very dear friend of mine, Chris Loper. And we were not good. We were not good people.
I was not a good person.
But something you mentioned earlier was that you're choosing your life. So are you actually going into these things choosing to be a thief or maybe even a murderer or something like that?
Yeah. For instance, Hitler, I don't believe for an instance that was just circumstance. I think no one is born that evil. I think he was predispositioned for his place in history. He chose that place to be in history, as horrific as that was. I think he chose that life for whatever reason.
Interesting. We have a first question from the chat. Tom McNicholas, he's asking, do you think when we sleep we also regress? So I guess maybe see past lives while we sleep.
Oh, absolutely. I've had a lot of people that tell me they've had reoccurring dreams. Well, they're in a place, they know this place, they've never been there in their entire life. But they know it, they know every inch of it, they've been there before. And, so is that a memory or is that a dream? Is that something that they've experienced before that they're, reliving in a dream, or is it a random thing your mind creates when we sleep to entertain us, basically? But
right.
A lot of people have reoccurring dreams of the same exact place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one glimpse I've ever had of a past life actually was during a dream. It was a past death, but I knew for a fact that was a past life there. So yeah, certainly. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Oh, just real quick. What do you think about music association with past lives.
As far as music putting you, recognizing a song or being, okay, for instance, my son, when he was 4 years old, his favorite music was from the 40s. No reason for that. You know, he's 3. He's like, I like that music because it was on TV. I like that music. He still listens to it.
Oh, yeah. When my son was 3, he used to sing Hey Jude all the time.
Yeah, and there's no way he would have that connection.
But my question is, and it doesn't happen with all music, although it does with some, but there was a song by Coldplay called Viva La Vida. I'm sure you know that. From the very first moment I ever heard that, I got goosebumps, and I could see it all in front of me, every bit of it. And I would just start crying.
Yeah.
And I've just wondered about that. That's not a life I've seen yet.
Right. It could be. Our souls are very connected to music anyway. It's very moving. I mean, sometimes it's not even the song, it's the lyrics.
Yes.
For me, it's the words that get me. So, you know, it's just another way that we connect, I think, to our higher self is music.
Makes sense to me.
Okay, we have a lot of questions starting to flood in here. So, from Joe Chandler, Rebecca, do you think disabled children choose to be disabled?
Yeah, I think that they choose. Like I said, we choose the life we're going to have before we have it. There's something that they wanted to learn from that. Either, you know, I don't know why people choose certain lives, but there's something they're gaining from that, something that they needed to learn. Maybe it's humility, or, you know, learning that I can overcome odds I didn't think I could overcome. You know, being in a wheelchair, being restricted, having to use my mind, communicate, you know, because I can't use my body, that kind of thing.
Okay. From Tammy Heitzman, why do so many people not remember their past lives, therefore making it more difficult to grasp what they're supposed to learn? It's a good question.
Well, the thing is, when you pass on, you get the lesson. You sit down and you go, you know, when you get to where you're supposed to be going, you sit down and go, oh, okay, now I remember what I'm supposed to learn. If we remembered every past life that we had, we'd be so traumatized we couldn't live this one.
True story.
That's probably true, yeah.
Yeah. And I do work with people with past life trauma, and we do hypnosis to help them get past that. There's a case with a little boy, tiny, probably started when he was 4 or 5. He was drawing Japanese fighter planes. Never seen one. And he had blood coming out of his eyes, and the plane was crashing, and he's like, Mommy, this is how I died.
Wow.
And he remembered his name. He remembered what ship he was on, all of it. And we had to do past life regression to help him get past that, because he was still stuck there in that death. He was still living that. And I had another case where a little boy, probably about the same age, about 6, he said, Mommy, I loved you so much the last time, I picked you again.
Oh, that's sweet. That's sweet.
That is. I would start bawling.
Yeah.
That is really sweet. We have a $10 super chat from Dawn Spooky. She says, donation from a past life, because I had money then.
Ooh.
Thank you very much, Dawn. Absolutely appreciate that. So now, when I've done, because I've read some Dolores Cannon and other things about past life regression, and I've heard that some people, when they see some of these events, images, what have you, they actually sometimes get a glimpse of where we're going, that kind of quote unquote home, you know, whatever your religion or belief calls it, but sometimes they see that. So do you believe that? Have you seen that on occasion?
I actually had 2 near-death experiences in my life, so yes, I've seen where we're going.
Okay.
Yeah, but that can happen. Usually not during a past life regression. I haven't experienced that with any of my clients, but I'm sure that they could get a glimpse of that. Sure.
Okay.
I mean, when you're under hypnosis, anything is possible. It's the same thing with meditation. You're stepping outside of yourself, letting your soul kind of go where it wants to go. So, anything's possible when you're in that state.
Yeah, makes sense.
Vanessa meditates. She knows what I'm talking
Yeah, Vanessa. Vanessa knows. Vanessa knows.
Yeah, I've seen it.
So Donna Gorton says, I've read that our souls meet with our guides before we decide to return, and we agree and knowingly go into the next life, but forget details in the rebirth process. So is that pretty much your experience with it?
Yes, that she's got that pretty right on. Yeah, we're not supposed to remember everything. Like I said, if we remembered every past life, we'd be such a mess. We wouldn't be able to function. In the book I'm writing, I talk in length about how phobias, how people are afraid of bridges for no reason, or drowning, or fire. I believe that phobias in this life are scars from past death. Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I know Shauna's talked about her deal with water, and especially deep water, in that she believes it's because as a witch in a former life that she was drowned. So that would make sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's no rational explanation for why we're afraid of things that we should have no fear of.
Mine is anything around my neck.
Yep, I have that one too.
Anything coming behind me.
I have that too, or tipping over backwards.
Yes. Falling.
Falling is a big one.
And I absolutely both love and revere, but am terrified of fire.
Yes, me too. Yeah, and I know why.
Shauna and Don are both saying in the chat that spiders must have taken them out in past lives since they hate spiders so much.
No, that's just common sense.
Yes, I don't like spiders. They're soulless little minions of Satan. I don't like spiders.
Me either. But
I mean, it's not like I like them or anything. To me, they're just okay. They're in the house. They're easy to kill. Step on them. You're like a million times bigger.
No. So. Have you ever been bit, Mike?
I mean, yeah, I've had spider bites before. Not like a brown recluse or something like that.
I've had a brown recluse bite.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, that would be really.
And that is like death.
I got bit by a wolf spider in my mailbox. It ran up and bit me when I was getting my mail.
Oh.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it was, the size of a silver dollar, and I had vampire puncture wounds in my hand, and I was forever traumatized. I won't get the mail anymore. No. Like, I'm not reaching in there. There's no way.
Now, you get those things from Walmart that are like for old people to pick stuff up off the ground and just shove that in your mailbox. Okay?
That's right. Kill everything first.
There you go. We have a question from Madam Mayhem. The question is, Rebecca, what is the best way to do a past life regression?
I do them through hypnosis. I put a person under, and then sometimes it takes 4 or 5 sessions to get there. A person has to be willing or able to be hypnotized. Some people can't be. But once you're under and you relax, and, I put them in a safe environment, I explain to them, we're not, we're just going down, it's like sitting on the top of water. You're going to go down into the water, but you're not going to drown. And then once you get to a certain plateau, you're going to be able to remember things that are hidden. We have all the memories of our past lives. We're just not supposed to remember them. They're still in there. So I take them to a place where they can safely explore that without worrying that they're going to be hurt by that again.
Do you think that the more we age and hopefully evolve, that we might not know all of our past life, but that we somehow become comfortable with the traits that we know we've brought from them? So I know it's a very weird question.
We are made up of every life we've ever had. Every life we've had has an impact on our current life. Yes.
And we just become more comfortable.
Right.
Or some not.
we learn more and more who we are. And some people, it takes 1,000 lifetimes. Some people it takes 3, and they're done. It depends on what you need to find out about yourself, what your soul needs, how much your soul needs to grow to get to that next higher level. And some people just get bored. And they're like, I want to do something else. I want to try something else. I want a new experience. So,
I can see that.
Yeah. I mean, we have, after we die, we still have, the will to make decisions. Of course, a lot of things are controlled by the universe and their destiny, but there are things that are in our control, and deciding that was one of those things.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, we have a $10 super chat from Andrew. Andrew Cox says, borrowed Gallagher's mallet and hit Frontier in the fruit and nails that spider behind Shauna. Nice. Very cool, Andrew. Chuck Banks, I don't even know if I'm going to go there with you. So he's trying to, 1, find out how many lives he lived beforehand, and 2, how many times he scored with me. So, Chuck.
Oh, God.
We're not going there. We'll talk about that later, big guy.
Yeah, that's a private discussion.
Yeah. All right. Chuck goes there. Like every episode.
Yeah.
But here's an interesting question. This is from Sandra Griffin. So, Rebecca, is there a way to know if you are a new soul or if you've had a past life without being regressed?
There aren't a whole lot of new souls. Most people have had past lives. I wouldn't want to be a new soul. Happen? Yeah, it does. I wouldn't want to be a new soul in the current environment. I think that person would be traumatized.
Because I guess one theory that I've heard is that, as you keep coming back, you learn more and more and more, and that sticks with you. And so
you get a tougher, thicker skin, yeah.
Yeah, and so I get one theory that I've heard is those who, I guess, trying to be gentle or a little less in tune, not as intelligent, what have you, haven't been around the block so many times. So it seems like, to me, there are a lot of new souls around.
Right. One parapsychologist that I talked to thinks that people with Asperger's or autism are new souls, and they get into this life, and it's too much. It's too overwhelming, and they can't deal. That was his theory, is that new souls are people once they get there here for that first time, it's just too much. It's too much stimulation. It's too much noise. It's too much everything. And they just kind of implode.
Okay.
So that was his theory, and I kind of tend to agree with that. I think, can you imagine bringing a brand new entity cast into the current world environment? I mean, Asperger's and autism is at an all-time high among children. There's got to be a reason for that. Besides vaccinations.
I don't know. I can't go into detail because of my job and what I do, but I had the sheer pleasure of working with a young child who had medical issues. The stack was this high. Okay. His parents were unbelievably shocked that he allowed me to do what I needed to do without fuss, without muss, without any issues. And I don't know why I did this, but when I sat down with him to work with him, the very first thing I did was rub him on the tip of the nose right here, and then rub his hand, and just with one finger, and just talk to him. And I've never done that with the patient. and he looked at me, and it was like he knew.
He knew who you were.
He was the oldest soul I've ever seen in a 2-year-old body.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It broke my heart with how happy I was to be able to work with this child. And
I bet he was a happy little soul too, wasn't he? Regardless.
Oh,
of his...
yes. Oh, yes. And just the fact that he let me do everything I needed to do.
Yeah.
I was like, I was shocked, but it was such a blessing, and this is a young one that it was so far past autism or Asperger's, but he was completely comfortable with me. And he was older than me. Soul, and I'm pretty damn old. He was older than me. And I believe he came back to teach love.
Yeah. My youngest son is an old soul. And when he was little, really little, he was sitting on his bed and he said, "Mommy," and I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm a very old person in a very little body."
Aw.
He says, "I don't ever want to do this again." He goes, "I'm done."
I have one of those too. He's 16 now. And,
yeah, mine's 16 too.
Yeah.
Just
yeah, he used to shock the hell out of me when he was about 2. He's the reason I came back out of the broom closet.
Yep.
Yeah, and on that note, there is a question here from Katie Palmer that is, can we pick to be done?
Oh yeah, absolutely can.
So you can just say, I'm not going back. I've learned it all.
I'm done. Yep. Okay. We absolutely can.
You heard it here, folks. I'm done.
No, and I have to throw this one out there too. So, and because I've read a lot of things, I've heard of people having past life regressions and recalling alien lives, like they're on a completely different planet and they have like a completely different body. So has that been your experience as well, that can certainly happen?
I have done past life regressions where people have remembered being abducted by aliens.
Wow.
And going to other planets. And I don't know why that comes out in a past life regression, but it comes out. Even if it's in this current life, or, maybe it happened to them in the past life, but they remember going somewhere else that was not on Earth. And, I have to believe them. I'm not going to discount what they're telling me.
Right.
So, that if they believe that that's their memory, that's their memory. And I'm not going to, tell them you're full of it, because there's, but I've done quite a few where they're like, just talking about, this isn't, conscious. They're not speaking consciously. They're just regurgitating information, and I play it back for them. They're like, I don't believe I said that. That's crazy.
Right. And why would they go through that whole process just to make up a story? It does make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Right. And, people that I work with, I check what kind of medications they're on, if they have any, serious mental issues like psychosis or, anything along that line. Before I do this, I want to make sure that not only they're safe, but I'm safe. So, I know the people I'm working with are of a good sound mind at the time I put them under. I don't want to victimize someone and make them worse off than they were before I put them under. So I make sure they're in a good state of mind first.
Okay.
That's very responsible. Not everybody would do that.
No, you got to be careful. You're messing with someone's psyche. So I'm very careful. There's people I've told no.
Yeah.
That, I'm not going to put you under. That's irresponsible of me to do something like that with you.
Well, they're in a very vulnerable position.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely are. Yeah.
Yeah. So even for that person, they would have to trust you.
Right. It doesn't work if you don't trust your hypnotherapist. If you don't trust that person, it's not gonna work. Right. You have to be comfortable with them. And sometimes we sit down and talk a few times before we even, start the process to get that comfort level.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Back on the, this was asked just as we were finishing up the autism conversation, but this is from Discord threads. Could autism be a higher level and society reads it wrong?
Could be. Most autistic, and Vanessa can speak to this. My son, like I said, has Asperger's. He's a highly intelligent person. I mean, he wrote a full novel when he was 10.
Nice.
Sat down and wrote a novel on the computer. He writes poetry that's mind-blowing. Can't make eye contact, doesn't like social interaction, but he's smart as a whip.
I think that it was Discord Threads that wrote that. I actually think, me personally, that they're onto something. I think that those with Asperger's or autism or certain special needs, I think that
on
they
the spectrum
see very clearly who people actually are. And,
oh yes,
and that is something that I think is definitely overlooked, because it's a child who, or an adult that, you know, might appear to be childlike of mind, they will have clearer sight and know who to fear, who to love, who to feel comfortable with. I actually put them on a much higher level than myself.
Yep. My son does that.
Yes, we need to look at them as the barometer for people around us and around them, because they're the alarm system. They're the ones that can say, hey, this person makes me uncomfortable. You need to watch out for them.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, my son did that. I had someone over here one time. He walked out of his room, looked at the guy, went, nope, turned back around, went back to his room, and come out to the
Bless him. Bless him.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
I love him already.
Nope. He was not having it.
Good for him.
Yep.
So, question from Chuck Banks. Can the darkness penetrate your soul from one life to the next?
Yes. We can carry darkness with us, absolutely. That's why some people need past life regressions to work through that.
So if there's someone or something that you're battling many lifetimes ago, you could still be in this particular lifetime?
Yeah. You haven't conquered it yet. So you keep coming back to try again and conquer it. And sometimes you do carry darkness with you, yeah. Depression or anxiety. A lot of people with post-traumatic stress disorder are partially carrying that from a past life.
And then they have trigger instances that kind of reiterate it. Okay.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and they have no idea in this lifetime where it's coming from, but coming from a past life, it makes more sense.
That nightmares, and trauma from nightmares. I mean, I'm sure you guys have had dreams that you woke up from, and you carry that feeling all day, and you feel just awful. You can't shake. You ever had that where you can't shake a dream for like hours after you wake up?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that for them. They live that way. They can't. That's what post-traumatic stress disorder is like. It's a nightmare you can't wake up from.
I have to ask you something, and Mike, just get ready.
Oh no.
I've never brought this up on a show ever, and I'm a little bit afraid to.
Here it is.
Y'all are going to find out way too much about me here in about 2 seconds. I had a dream that I know had something to do with a past life, but what it could be, I have no idea. And I will tell you that it was very technical where I was in the fields and the sky and the sun, and it was almost pixelated, but technicolor. And I was in a white dress, and I was actually running through this field, squatting and marking my territory.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Do you happen to know where this field is, since it's your field now?
I'm telling you.
Yeah,
you claimed it, you better go back and get it.
What the fuck does that mean?
That could actually be kind of like a that sounds more futuristic than it does past life to me.
It means I'm just gonna be peeing everywhere.
And you're gonna be peeing everywhere. Maybe there's gonna be, the the apocalypse, and that's the way people are going to mark stuff. It's going to be on it.
I was happy.
Yeah, hey, as long as you're happy. You had your field.
I cannot believe I just shared that. But
That's
you know what?
pretty wild, Vanessa.
That was very
I
brave
love
of you. That was very brave of you, honey.
It's because I love y'all. I love all the watchers, and you know what? This is me. This is what you get. So, wow.
I think what I'll do is I'll just splice that part out of the show and loop it and post it somewhere.
You would
Be like
too.
the squatting and peeing rap or something.
Oh my gosh!
Put it to music.
Put it, yeah, put some techno music on it.
Yeah. Free airspace depends for Vanessa.
Yeah.
Well, now you're going to get donations. Depends for Vanessa.
I know, right? Oh, for fuck's sake! Oh my god!
Yeah, Tammy Highsmith saying make a meme. Yeah.
Let's please not do that. Y'all love me, remember?
Rebecca, let me ask you this. So,
Sure.
so I know you investigate the paranormal as well, and
I do.
yes. So a lot of these entities that we see, or maybe some of them, not necessarily a lot, but are some of them that we see maybe perhaps communicating with us or maybe attached to us somehow from a past life? Like maybe there was some entity we were associated with back then that has now followed us into this one?
They could possibly recognize us from a past life. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because they would be seeing the soul and not necessarily the meat sack.
Right. They see what's inside. They don't see the outside. So yeah, they could absolutely recognize us. Know who we are. You know, have memories with us. Yeah. There could be a lot of. I don't feel that all attachments are necessarily bad. I think sometimes spirits attach to us for a certain amount of time because we need them to.
Okay.
I don't feel that they're all dark, evil, out to get us.
No.
Attachments.
No, and I don't believe that either. Let's see. We'll take a couple more questions here on past life regressions because that's not the only thing you do.
No, I do lots of stuff.
You do lots of stuff. It's a big topic, and of course, people are interested on it. So this one, Sandra Griffin, you kind of already addressed this a little bit, but I'll throw it out there again just to so she can get it answered. Can we choose to come back, or is it chosen for us? Which it sounds like you choose.
We choose it.
Yeah.
We choose what we're going to do. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lesson we need to learn, and we're like, you know, I haven't. It's like, you know, deciding to, you know, come out of sitting in the timeout chair and learn our lesson again because we didn't learn it the first time, so we come back and try again.
Yeah, to try to learn the same lesson again.
Yeah, if we fail, I mean, there's no guarantee just because we choose a life mission that we're going to succeed at it. I mean, there's always, you know, intervention. There's other people's free will that, you know, intersects with ours and changes what, you know, the mission that we had chosen. We do things because we're human beings and we're controlled by our physical body. And sometimes we do things that aren't good for our soul. And that kind of changes the course of what we were here to do.
I think you can get back on course.
Oh, absolutely
when you recognize it. I think you can get back on course. I think a lot of us are guilty of that based on what you just said, which other people's free will intersects with ours and can take us off of our path. And I think that happens more than we give it credit.
Oh, it happens a lot.
Yes, and I think that in our lives we are dictated by what society deems necessary as opposed to what our free will tells us we should do.
Absolutely.
And I think once you get to the point to where you start to see the difference between the two, you have reached a dangerous level of freedom.
Yes.
Yes. And it's beautiful. When
we reach a point where we don't give a hoot what somebody else thinks, we're truly free.
Yes.
And that's a really hard place to get to.
But you can.
Oh, yeah, you can.
True
but
enough.
It's a lot of work.
Yes, it is. A lot of tears.
Yes.
A lot of frustrations, but it's doable.
Yep. You have to put yourself and love yourself first and that's the person you have to count on above everybody else is yourself.
Damn straight.
So from Madam Mayhem, do we always come back as a human?
No, not necessarily. I had one guy that I did a past life regression with. He goes, I think I'm a dog. So yeah, and I believe that you can reincarnate it as a dog if you want. I mean, it's going to be a completely different experience. But
well, you know, I had a lot of dreams when I was a kid that I was an alligator, so I was wondering if I was once an alligator.
You could have been.
Maybe.
You could have been. Maybe that was something you know, maybe you just wanted to see what it was like to be, you know, amphibian.
Maybe. You never know.
Maybe you were a woman.
I wouldn't doubt that.
I know for a fact I was a dude at least once.
Yeah.
I bet I was a guy a lot of times.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me.
Did you ever meet someone that has, like, a woman that has real male energy, or a man that has real feminine energy?
Yep.
Because they've probably done it so many times before that they're kind of carrying over a little bit of that personality.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. They're kind of used to being in that role, and here they are. Oh, I'll try out being, you know, a totally different gender this time, and yeah, that makes sense.
That was another thing that this parapsychologist that I worked with thinks maybe transgender has something to do with.
That could always be possible.
It's an interesting concept.
Yep, the soul's in the wrong body.
Yeah.
For what, you know, that was one of his theories too. He's helping me write this book I'm writing, so.
Nice. So Dawn says she wants to be a dolphin. So.
Hey, that's a great thing to be.
You go, Dawn. All right. So.
Dolphins are amazing and very smart.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So now, Rebecca, you do a lot of other things as well. Something that I thought was kind of interesting, because a lot of people kind of shy away from these things, is you do actually work a lot with Ouija boards. So what's going on there?
Let's see how many I have. 32 of them in my house right now.
Wow.
I'm still alive.
Yeah, a lot of them are very cool looking. So.
Yeah, I get packages on my porch with no return address that has Ouija boards that people send me. They just don't want them anymore, and they end up on my doorstep.
Something happened to them when they were using the board, or?
Probably.
Yeah.
There's no story with it. I just get a package in brown paper. We open it up, and it's a Ouija board. I have one right now that was supposed to belong to a serial killer.
Okay.
So,
wow.
Yeah, I don't touch that one.
Okay.
That one would be a little.
Right there, you just said you won't touch that one.
No.
That's the thing is what I've always tried to tell people is, I'm not saying the Ouija board is bad. I'm saying that the intent of the user is bad. And
yes.
The lack of the education in how to open it and how to close it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well,
I love the fact that you said that.
Yeah. And I've talked to people before that, you know, use, and apparently you do as well, that use Ouija boards as tools. It's, you know, it's a way to communicate with spirit, like we would with an audio recorder and whatnot. And I've always been under the impression that a lot of people just don't know how to use them properly. Is that what's going on here with a lot of people that get in trouble with the Ouija board?
Well, most of the problem with Ouija boards is Hollywood and movies.
Yeah.
have demonized them. They're no more dangerous than sitting down with an EVP recorder. You can get in just as much trouble using a recorder as you can a Ouija board. It's all about the intent at the time that you are using whatever device that is, whatever frame of mind you're in. You know, I don't recommend anybody sit down and work with spirit if they're angry or if they're depressed or they're ill. I mean, you're opening yourself up to all sorts of things. But yeah, there's practices for a Ouija board as there is with any equipment that you use. But a Ouija board is old. I mean, Ouija boards have been around since, you know, the 1800s.
Right.
So, you know, yeah, you have to respect your tools, and they're not toys and they're not games. I mean, you know, I know.
And I think that's part of the problem is that they were marketed for so long as a game. And
oh, absolutely were. That was their intent, was a game. They in the 1800s,
It's supposed to be a parlor game, right?
Yeah, that was a parlor game. People didn't have, television. They didn't have radio. So they would have, back in the height of spiritualism, they would have seances, and they would use the Ouija boards, and they would use the trumpets, and they would hire mediums to come into their house to entertain them. Mary Todd Lincoln had mediums in the White House.
Right.
Mrs. Roosevelt was a spiritualist. Nancy Reagan was a spiritualist. Lincoln reported seeing spirits walking through the White House. He thought he saw George Washington one time. So spiritualism really, really took off in the 1800s, and it became, like you said, entertainment.
Well, I guess one of the things that so I've seen like a lot of kids kind of get in trouble with the Ouija boards, and I hear a lot of stories from people. Yeah, when I was 13 years old, went to a friend's house and we were screwing around with the Ouija board.
Sleepovers, yeah,
sleepovers and all that. And kind of my take has always been that they're there, being kids, and they're not doing it honest, where they're trying to fool each other into, this boy likes you or whatever. But yet there's a legitimate spirit that is like, hey, you're trying to communicate with me, you're using the board, and gets upset. And then that's when, the shit hits the fan. At least that's been my take. But you're one that actually uses one, so.
What I tell people is your chances of having a bad encounter with a Ouija board are about the same as having a winning lottery ticket, getting struck by lightning, and bit by a land shark at the same time. You're pretty safe. I think if something bad's going to get you, it's not going to matter what conduit it goes through. It could do it through your dreams. It doesn't necessarily have to be through a Ouija board.
True.
I don't recommend that children use them unsupervised. Just like I wouldn't recommend children going into a location and investigating it unsupervised. Children shouldn't be involved in the paranormal. I think that's responsible parenting. If they want to watch the TV shows, that's fine. But I don't recommend people take their children on paranormal investigations or introduce them to any kind of tools to contact the other side. Children are still very open, and they see things anyway. They don't even, most cases I work on have children in their homes because the kids are like, I see that. Do you see that? Because children are still more connected to the other side than we as adults are.
Well, yeah. They were there more recently than we were.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one mom called me one time, and she went in to check on her two little boys, and they were 5 and 7. And the 7-year-old looked over his little brother, and he said, "Hey, do you remember what heaven looks like? I'm starting to forget."
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really wild.
Yeah.
Dawn is wondering if you use a pendulum board.
I have. Same concept. Instead of using the pendulum, you're using the now I can't think of the word. Yeah, you're using that in the same context. Yeah.
Do you think it's just as effective?
By now, so my brain's starting to shut down. Sorry.
That's all right. Oh, we got about 10 minutes left, but is it just as effective?
For my brain. Yeah. It's the same kind of concept. I have people that use just use divining rods to communicate yes and no answers.
Okay, so what does it mean when you use those, like the dowsing rods?
Dowsing rods. Yeah.
Anytime I try to pick those up, they cross and turn and point directly to me.
Because you're a psychic.
Okay, they do it to myself.
They do the same thing to me. I can't use them.
Yeah, it's like
you can train. You can train yourself. I worked with a. She's kind of like a shaman, and she said what you have to think of it is turning on a light switch and turning it off. So you have to shut your energy down and get them to go straight forward. She said, think of it as turning the light switch off on inside you so they're not attracted to you, and then I find that they do straighten out when I do that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, they go right to me, and it's
it's
they don't work. Yeah,
exactly. It's weird too.
Yeah, every medium I've ever handed a set to, they go right to their body. So yeah, that's our energy they're attracted to. Our energy's tight. Our energy's better than anything that's floating around out there. So they want to be close to that.
No, we don't want to brag or nothing.
No, but we can. We can totally brag.
So here's a good question from Betty Lange. She wants to know, do you feel that YouTube is teaching the tools good or bad?
As far as,
I guess, as far as like
equipment?
using paranormal, I guess with paranormal equipment, we were specifically talking Ouija boards and things like that. So do you think, the different videos that are out there on YouTube or maybe even other social media, do you think it's a good influence or a bad influence as to how to actually use these tools properly?
It depends on who's made the video. There are some irresponsible videos out there. I won't mention any names or get into it, but there are some videos out there that are dangerous. Yes.
You don't even have to.
There is a lot of misinformation out there, unfortunately.
There is, and people that take great risks with their personal safety and shouldn't necessarily be putting that out on the internet for people to have access to. So yes, I think it can have a negative influence if it gets into the wrong hands.
I agree with that. Back on the past life regression, real quick. This was from Pat Kraft. This was a good question. How much of a role does karma play in how we come back? If you're a jerk, if you're a jerk in the last life, do you pay for it in the next?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
So did Vanessa, because she was talking about being a thief before, did she pay that in her subsequent life?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were just talking about that before we came on air. Sometimes your life is tough because of something you did in a past life that you need to repent for. Yeah.
I think what's funny is I was a thief of jewels and artifacts.
Oh, wow. Indiana Jones, honey.
Yeah. And I've actually investigated or been to one of the places that I used to hide, and that's the Hellfire Caves in England.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And I actually have an attachment because of what I used to do. And he has stayed with me, and he's kind of an asshole. But
I agree.
I am not a fan of jewelry. Now, anything opulent, I could care less about. But man, the wolf ring holding the ruby in his teeth, and just the patina of it used to just Now I'm like, where's my rocks? Just give me rocks.
And crystals. Yeah. I don't wear jewelry. I don't like bracelets. I can wear a necklace for a couple hours maybe. I can wear my wedding ring. And I have to take it off. I wear it when I go out in public, and when I get home, it's like every piece of jewelry I have on. Earring. I don't wear new earrings. I don't like any of it. I don't know what that's from, but I just don't like it.
Mine is simple stuff. Amber.
Yeah.
Amber's my grounding mechanism is amber.
Right.
It's not even a stone; it's a resin. But
it is beautiful. I love amber.
Thank you. I love mine. But yeah,
and it's ancient. I mean it. That's another connection, probably.
Yeah, but I just that's the funniest thing is I used to be a very prominent thief. I know that, and I was good.
So let me ask you this, Vanessa, very prominent thief. Where is the stolen amber room? They recreated it, but where's the original? Where did it get stolen off to?
The stolen what?
Amber room. You have this connection with amber. You were a thief. Where did it get stolen off to?
Off the Mediterranean.
Duh. She's like giving you the duh face.
Yeah,
she is, yeah.
Well, I'm saying if
nobody's been able to find it, so I'm just kind of curious.
No, it's faces the Baltic Sea.
That would make sense.
That's in the Mediterranean area, right? Am I thinking about that in the correct way?
Well, I mean, it's in that part of the world, but
It
Yeah.
looks, if you're looking at it and the Baltic Sea is behind you, if you're looking at it, it's been covered up. But if you could uncover it, it would look like that. You remember in that movie, the Indiana Jones movie, where it looks like that place is carved into the rock when they're going in and they're looking for the what is it called? What is it called? What is it called? That chalice.
oh, the Holy Grail.
Yeah, the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
You know how that place looks like it's carved into the rock?
Yeah.
The Amber Room is carved in over there, and it's been covered up. It's been
Yeah, that's Petra. So okay, so a place like that over there.
yeah,
Near the Baltic Sea.
It,
Okay.
that's if I have the Baltic Sea behind me and I'm looking at it. If they were able to take off what is technically a facade, okay, it's about 11 feet thick. The facade is. It's been built there and then weathered so that it looks smooth. If they were to take that off and stand inside of it and face outwards, they would be looking at the Baltic Sea.
Interesting. Okay.
It's white, by the way, on the inside of it.
Interesting. Very cool. Very cool.
Like limestone almost?
Yeah, ish.
Okay.
It has a smoother texture to it than limestone.
Like marble?
Like
what
marble, but the veining is different. It's almost, because in marble the veining is not man-made. In this, the way that it was put in looks crafted.
I gotcha. Okay.
Does that make sense? So, but it's very smooth, not like satin smooth, but not porous.
I gotcha.
So there's a lot of stuff in there actually.
That would make sense since they stole
Yeah.
a number of different things, and that was one of them.
A lot
Yeah.
of stuff. It's got a lot of statues, a lot of the smaller statues in it too.
Okay. So
And
there
you
we
can
go.
imagine
We're gonna
the
have to go
cache
treasure
from a
hunting.
video game
We do.
of cool shit. It's all in there.
Very cool. Very cool.
I've never been asked that before. I don't know where all that came from. That's what they're showing.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to be hitting the maps and everything, right after this. So
That would be great. That would be great. There is to the left of it. I don't know if that would be east, south, west, or north, but there is an alcove that kind of comes in, and where it comes in, up on that other side of it, the land is quite raised and goes up. So you could actually be on that upper portion of it at the very point looking out at the Baltic Sea, look down and see the entrance.
Wow.
wow. Okay. Very
You
cool.
rock.
Thank you. Let me know if you find it, Mike.
I will. I'm going to hop on a plane tomorrow, and
He's going there.
that's right.
He's going to get his Indiana Jones hat on. He's going to go.
Yep. Yep.
Are you
You're going
ready
to
be
you're going to
mind
Ireland. I'm going to the Baltic Sea. So there we go.
blown? Are you ready to be mind blown?
Absolutely.
The people that I've told you about in the blue area, remember the people that float?
Yeah.
They have stuff in there.
Oh.
Mm.
Okay.
You're going to have to tell me about the floaty people later.
It's like a glass existence, a glass
Mm.
of water existence, and everybody floats.
Interesting.
That sounds kind of cool, actually.
That does. So, all right. Well, one last question, and then we're going to have to get wrapping up the show because we are getting close to our hour mark.
Oh, that went fast.
It does. It usually does go pretty fast. Yeah. So, Rebecca, do writers who have muses, are the muses part of their past lives?
Absolutely. I mean, our spirit guides are also part of our past lives. So,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. I believe that.
So, were they spirit guides or muses or what have you in those past lives, or were they people from those past lives?
Probably related to you somehow in a past life,
Okay.
spiritually. Spirit guides are usually transcended. They don't come back into a physical body anymore, so they guide others.
Okay. All right. Well, it has just been about our hour. Rebecca, you're going to be at the Haunted Road Media Paracon. You will be talking more about past life regression there. So everybody, you need to come and listen to Rebecca speak. But how can everybody find you now until then?
I do have a Facebook page. I also have a public figure page on Facebook. You can reach me on Instagram and Twitter. So I'm easy to get a hold of. I have to do is type my name in and Google, and then it comes up about 100 things. So
Yeah.
people should be able to find me. I'm also writing
Google.
a book called Traversing the Veil, which is going to be out hopefully in August, of past life regression stories and people that I've helped, explaining how past lives work. So people can pick that up.
Yeah, that'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and get to the super chats, and then we'll do everybody's shout out and wrap it up. So, super chat superstars for this evening were Dawn and Andrew. Thank you both very much for that. Absolutely appreciate it. And we'll get to the shout outs here. Hit this participants tab that Candy showed me. All right, so of course there's Shauna, our chat shenanigator. Thank you very much for shenanigating the chat this evening. And Donna Gorton, thank you for Cheshire catting the chat. Of course, there's Andrew Cox, one of our Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons. Those include Tom McNicholas, B3 Aerospace, Zippy Davis, BD Flint, Pamela Queen, Joe Chandler, Andrew Cox, and Dustin Samario. Thank you all very, very much for being a Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons, which everybody else can find, patreon.com/Haunted Road Media. There's also April M. Wimigwans. Thanks for joining us tonight. And there's B3 Aerospace. Thank you as well. Betty Lange, thank you for the questions tonight. Denise Pridemore's in the house. Thank you, Denise, as always. Joe Chandler, thank you very much. John LaRue, thanks for joining us tonight. Sandra Griffin, thank you for your questions as well. And you as well, Dawn, you had some really good questions. Tammy Heitzman, thanks for joining us again. The Hagland, and of course, Tim Schoen. Thank you all very, very much for being here tonight. And there's Dustin Samario in the chat. Also, EQ, thank you as well. Tom McNicholas thrown down here at the end. Discord thread. See, there's always more here at the end than in that participants chat. There's always more. See, and there's Discord threads. Madam Mayhem, thank you for your questions as well. So, see, Charms Paranormal, Katie Palmer, and Pat Kraft, who I finally got to meet this past weekend. Greg Renkin was in the house. Let's see, is there anybody else? I'm just going to scroll real quick because, like I said, it just didn't grab everybody. It's a good list, but it's not all inclusive. All right. Just to let you guys know, there is no Inside the Upside Down this evening. Sorry about that. Just between the traveling, a lot of stuff going on with work, we didn't really get a show put together. So what we're going to do, Shauna and I are going to go live on Facebook for a little bit, kind of to supplement the loss of Inside the Upside Down for this evening. So, or you could always be that because, last week's topic got a little bit into disclosing NSA stuff that they shut us down. No, I'm kidding, but but yeah, so we'll go live on Facebook for a little bit and do a couple things there, but no official Inside the Upside Down show on the YouTube channel tonight. And I also want to thank anybody that was listening or watching one of the simulcasts on Twitch or Periscope. And this will be uploaded later as a podcast and iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, and pretty much anywhere we listen.
We need to have Rebecca back.
Yes, yes. People were already saying down in the chat that we have to have Rebecca back, and so
love to
see. Oh, Chanel is looking for a shout out, so I guess yes, it says not all inclusive. There's Chanel F. Thank you, Chanel, and Kevin Butler as well. So there we go.
And I can't wait to meet you in June.
Yep.
I know. I'm so excited.
We'll talk about the blue people.
I can't
talk about the blue people in June. There you go. All right, everybody.
Thank you guys. I appreciate having me on, and you guys both have a great evening.
You too. Thank you again, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Everybody else, have a great night. Rebecca, we'll see you in June. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.